Police seized 4 suspected bags of cannabis in BANYAKA village. International Fund for Agricultural Development calls on government to invest in inclusive digital infrastructure. Exhibitors ranked 2021 GCCI Trade Fair above previous editions. This and more coming on Gambia 24. Good evening, this is Gambia 24 News Bulletin with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. Now, the Gambia Police Force has announced the seizure of 4 bags and 29 bundles of cannabis at BANYAKA village on Monday during their usual patrol under the Operation Zero Crime campaign. According to officials, the officers on patrol uncovered a bunker in which huge quantity of suspected cannabis was seized and the suspect arrested. Fatmata Kasim has the rest of that.
Cannabis in the Gambia is illegal. It is known locally as yamba or Thai and is the most used illegal drugs in the country. Cannabis grows naturally in the Gambia and other parts of Africa and has been used as recreational drug for centuries. However, its abuse is now widespread in both rural and urban communities in the Gambia. The police PRO Superintendent Lamin Jai said during the course of their operation, they were able to establish that there is a huge link between crime and drug abuse.
So it was one of the routine patrols that they were doing yesterday when they got tip-off information that some illicit activities are going on around the village of BANYAKA, somewhere around Brufut, West Coast region area. And so as a result of that, they have decided to go and investigate this situation, and during the course of that investigation, in fact, they realized that it was some cannabis dealing that was going on around this area, and so eventually they were able to follow leads until they uncover that metal bunker you have seen out there with quantities of cannabis that you have 4 bags of cannabis with 29 bundles within those 4 bags that were hidden in that bunker in one of the compounds in BANYAKA.
The police PRO said 2 individuals were arrested in connection with possession of alleged cannabis and are currently helping the police in their investigation.
Arrests were made. Some 2 individuals were arrested in connection to this situation, and they are currently helping with investigations. What we will do afterwards is to transfer this case to the Drug Law Enforcement Agency, because they are the institution that is responsible to further probe into this situation and be able to take appropriate actions against these individuals and their activities.
According to him, police officers have been barred from entering certain premises even though they have genuine information to investigate. He therefore urges the public to allow the police to do their duties, emphasizing that it is against the laws of the Gambia to obstruct police officers when they are on their lawful duties.
As of now, we have message that we want to pass to the general public, and especially to do with one, information sharing. We want the general public to share information with the police, because we cannot be able to uncover some of these situations without people sharing information with the police. In fact, we want to commend the public because this information was shared by a member of the public, and that was why the police were able to investigate and uncover this situation. Secondly, we want people also to not obstruct our officers when they go about with their search activities, especially when they have informations like this. Oftentimes, we usually will encounter people coming out to obstruct officers, barring them from entering certain premises, even though they have genuine information to investigate. And so we want to let people understand that it is against the laws of the Gambia to obstruct police officers when they are on their lawful duties.
There are strict laws in the Gambia with the minimum sentence for those found in possession of drugs over 250 grams, with a very large fine of up to 15 years in jail. Recent cases have included foreigners carrying a minimal amount of cannabis sentenced to 10 years in prison. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
The International Fund for Agricultural Development has called on governments and private sectors to urgently invest in digital infrastructure and mobile banking services in developing countries to restore rural families and not to make sure that rural families are not left behind. This call comes as millions of remittance families in rural areas struggle to access mobile banking services that could help them drive away poverty. Nesise reports.
The International Day of Family Remittances is observed annually on the 16th June to recognize more than 200 million migrant workers who send money home to over 800 million family members. One of the greatest progress for remittances during 2020 was the accelerated adoption of digital technology by the migrants and their families. Despite a massive increase in migrants sending money home via mobile transfers, millions of their family members in the rural areas still struggle to access the mobile banking services. To address this obstacle, the International Fund for Agricultural Development called on governments and private sectors to quickly invest in inclusive digital infrastructure.
Today's modern economy. Remittances represent the human face of globalization, and the international community needs to work together to not only make it cheaper, but also to make it count more for millions of families and the communities in which they live.
Posh Baraut, wife of Nepal's migrant worker, whose husband is one of 200 million migrant workers around the world, explained how she struggles to access the money transferred by her husband.
My husband has been working abroad for the last 10 years. Now he's in Dubai doing some tailoring related work.
Maria Bibiana, an online transfer expert, said, despite the coronavirus pandemic, migrants continue to send money to their relatives.
COVID-19 has shown us that Colombian abroad could experience economic difficulties, but they continue sending money to their families in Colombia to help them.
Despite early prediction of a fall in remittances volume due to COVID-19 measures, global remittances remained steady in 2020, dropping just 1.6% to 540 billion US. Family remittances have a direct impact on the lives of more than 1 billion people, 1 out of 7 individuals on Earth. Digitalization experts say it's less costly than cash transfers and has reinforced the adoption of mobile money. Therefore, allowing greater access to digital technology provides the key to keeping remittances flowing and lifting millions of rural people out of poverty. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Nesise.
The Gambia National Guard has joined the fight in tackling surging criminal activities in the country by launching an operation called RESTOR SANITY, aimed at restoring peace and order in the country. The initiative is meant to complement Operation Zero Crime launched by the Gambia Police Force months ago. More of that in this report. Few months ago, a week wouldn't have passed by without a violent criminal activity being reported, ranging from rape and murder to armed robbery and stealing, among others. These activities, however, prompted the Gambia Police Force to launch an Operation Zero Crime to curb the surging criminal activities in the Gambia. To complement this crusade, the nation's National Guard mounted an operation called Restore Sanity, geared towards restoring public order and safety due to the sharp rise in criminality and criminal-related activities in the country. Major Lamin Sanyang, Director of Press and Public Relations of the Gambia Armed Forces, says the need arises when there was a public outcry in the surging number of the criminal activities in the country.
However, with time, it was observed, by the public, because of the public outcry there, that more needed to be done because some of these crimes involve the use of arms and ammunition by some of these criminals, and also some murder incidences also did occur, and as a result there was the need to also activate the second layer, which is the Gambia National Guard, which under the Constitution is mandated to deal with internal security matters, because they have full police powers. They can effect arrest, they can detain, as far as the Constitution is concerned.
The operation, according to officials, will involve vigorous patrols during the day, which will be intensified during the night. As a result,
The public is urged to avoid lonely, remote and suspected crime-infested areas at ungodly hours to reduce the risk of being targets of these criminals. Major Sanyang says any culprit found violating the laws will be apprehended and handed over to the police for further actions.
For Operation Restore Sanity, the plan is like if anyone is arrested, we will process you, take your details, document you, and from there we hand you over to the police. That's the law, the Ministry of Interior, for them to process you. So we are not going to keep people for any longer. Once we bring them in, probably the following day we'll process them and hand them over to the police for prosecution, of course with any evidence that we may have.
Law-abiding citizens are also encouraged to go about their normal activities and to provide the National Guards with timely information about criminals and their locations to assist the security forces in their quest to curtail crime. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
The 14th edition of the Gambia International Trade Fair drew the curtains on Sunday with participants feeling relief of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the hard knocks, sales in this year's fair are highly rated as goods and services took up the space of the National Independence Stadium from May 22nd. Kadiduseka reports.
The annual International Trade Fair organized by the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry creates a valuable platform for businesses and people to sell and explore qualities best found in the African market. Leading businesses from the sub-region are joined by those with international background on the language of partnership, paving way for opportunities for the small and medium enterprises, mainly by the young. The fair constructs businesses linkages between Gambia and other parts of the world that goes down to explore new products and trend to usher in cost-effective marketing and management. One thing some of the participants are taking home from Banjul is the nature of sales in comparative with the previous editions.
Sant nañ ci Yàlla bi bari suma collègues sañ ñu ngi complain naan it's not as usual waaye ñun moom sant Yàlla ba mu bari.
For this year's trade fair, I have nothing to say except to thank Allah. Although some of my colleagues complain that this year is not like other years, but on my part, the profit I made is more than that of the previous years.
Asan Katra further explained the challenge in getting the Gambian-made products compete in the market.
Jafe-jafe bi nag mooy Gambians yi duñ dee nangoo patronize Gambian-made products.
The difficulty is that Gambians do not patronize their own products. So to be very honest, if the youth of the Gambia are trying, one should help them. If one comes to our shop and realize that our products are made in the Gambia, they will just turn their backs and give us an excuse that they are coming back. So you see that the confidence is lacking.
One of the participants who had attended the previous 3 editions of the exhibition gave a better rating of the 2021 trade convergence in the Gambia.
This is my 4th year, and I have seen an improvement. Every year I sell my products to many people, and this year is not an exception. I have never even met many of my customers before. This year is a sign of massive improvement. That is why every year from now on, I will come back.
Misuna, who is in the fashion business, expressed her satisfactions with the progress of this year's fair.
This is my first year selling at the trade fair, and I have achieved my objective. I've made a lot of sales. Hopefully, next year I'll earn more than this.
The International Trade Fair could not hold last year due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, which devastated businesses and the service sectors across the world. The resumption of this exhibition signals a revival of crippled economics and hopes in getting back to the normal business operations. Karijato Seka, iAfrica News.
The report by Kadiduseka Seka on business owners rating this year's trade fair highly compared to previous editions will take us to a quick break, and we'll be right back with the rest of the news on Gambia 24. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and this is still Gambia 24 News. The spokesperson of Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, APRC, has told iAfrica TV that the party expects nothing positive from the Truth Commission's recommendations about former President Yahya Jammeh. Duja says the TRRC should allow the law to take its course in the implementation of the yet-to-be-presented report of the recommendations to President Adama Barrow. Details in this report.
On the final day of the public hearings of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission TRRC, lead counsel Issa Fall emphasized that former President Yahya Jammeh must be brought to justice for the alleged gross human rights violations that occurred under his reign. However, the APRC spokesperson says it is unprofessional for some members of the TRRC to insist that Jammeh must be brought to justice.
We're not expecting anything positive as far as the former president is concerned. From the lead counsel himself, the way he reacts or reacted during the proceedings of the TRRC, he has nothing to hide when it comes to the former president, that he's not in support and will never support or never to compromise or accept anything positive that came from him or his government. So we're not expecting anything positive as far as the former president is concerned. Some of their staff, they insisted way before the recommendations are received and the report that the president must implement. For me, that's not professional enough. What is expected of them is to write their report and make recommendations and submit to the authorities concerned.
Duduja adds that neither the president nor the TRRC have to execute the recommendations. To him, the parliament has a role to play as their primary objective is to maintain peace in the country.
I think must be is overemphasized. This country has laws, and whatever should happen in the Gambia must be according to our constitution. It's the supreme law of the land that the president has prerogative, has executive powers that he can execute, but he's not alone in it. If he wants to take any measures or further action, it must be approved by parliament, especially when it comes to prosecuting. And when it goes to parliament, two-thirds must agree to whatever recommendations would also come from the president himself. And the reason or the basis of the law is it must be geared towards maintaining peace in this country. So it's not for TRRC to make decisions, and it's not for the president alone to decide and say prosecution will take place, but parliament also has a big role to play in this.
Gambians are eagerly waiting for the recommendations of the TRRC as the public hearings ended last month. The TRRC was established in 2017 to conduct research and investigations into human rights violations committed under the presidency of Yahya Jammeh. The commission further aims to prevent a repetition of the violations and abuses suffered under the past regime by making recommendations to government and citizens aimed at ensuring the crimes of the past never reoccur in the Gambia. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
Now, the deputy party leader of United Democratic Party, Adiyam Seka, has urged President Adama Barrow to buy more buses for students than buying vehicles for his supporters to promote his political agenda. There has been continuous public outcry over the scarcity of public transportation in the Gambia, as Sajalo reports.
The day-to-day transportation in the Gambia is noticeably insufficient lately. This crisis is mostly affected by students who find it very difficult to commute to school due to the chaotic traffic. Students, as major victims, do not only come to school late at times, but may also face terrible situations like theft on their way to school. Ajia Maseka, speaking in her capacity as a retired teacher, urged the president to come to the aid of the students by buying more school buses for easy transportation.
Adama Barrow, I am telling you that the cars you are using for politics are too much, since you said you own them, and giving it to your party militants. I am also pleading with you because as a retired professional teacher, and I have taught till I have retired, but I'm asking you to look for school buses for the school-going children. Adama Barrow, the cars you bring into the country are too much, including school buses for the students before. Before, we the elders never wanted our kids to walk at the hours of Maghrib, but going out at the hours of Maghrib, especially at the streets of Gambia High, to Gympex, you will see students loitering around, which is not safe for our kids. Reduce the cars and give the students enough school buses.
Babakar Toure, a student from Kanifing East Senior Secondary School, stressed the issue of traffic and how it affects his educational career.
It gets very difficult for me to have car, even when I have car early. But before I reach at the school, I waste a lot of time in the road. Not that I'm idle, but when the traffic is blocked. So sometimes also before you have car to go to school, it gets very difficult before I have car. You see all these students roaming here without having any car. So when they can supply our school bus, we have school bus, so that when we go home anytime, we just take our school bus and go. It will favor us. Because when you are late, when you are supposed to have paper at around 8 o'clock, so due to the block of the traffic, you get late and the traffic is blocked, you don't have car early. You can get late or you absent in that paper.
Another student from the Gambia Senior Secondary School also dilated on the struggles students go through just to get to school on time.
It is obvious that going to Banjul is not easy, and I commute from Fajikunda to go to school. Sometimes you will wait for the bus while it's already full and the driver will not want to take you along. I end up paying a fare to Banjul if I don't get any lift. If you are not lucky to have a lift, then you'll pay fare. I'm in the morning shift, therefore I don't come home at night, but when going in the morning, I am mostly late. Due to this, I get punished when I am late because it's part of the rules and regulations, as you know. It is not advisable. My last words are, if you can help the students, that will be good, because we are the future leaders. They should help us with the means of transportation, anyhow, just so we can go to school on time.
Generally, students are sometimes not prioritized in traffic by drivers, and they often encounter issues like bullying or receiving vulgar words from the public. Reporting for iAfrica News, Aisha Jallo.
In that report by Aisha Jallo on UDP's deputy party leader urging President Adama Barrow to buy more school buses for students than buying political vehicles brings us to the end of Gambia 24 News. I am Mariama Cham. Thanks for watching and do have a great night.
They say